The Dolphins have pressured quarterbacks at the 5th highest rate this season. That's an area that Jordan Love has struggled with. When Jordan Love is pressured this season, he has thrown just 2 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, while completing 41% of his passes. His completion percentage ranks 29th in the NFL, and his interception percentage ranks 31st. Hawk, we saw Jordan Love finally have a turnover-free game on Sunday. How big is that heading into this matchup against the Dolphins?
I mean, it's huge. It's the big question mark around the Green Bay Packers heading into the back half of the season and into the playoff. When you play the really good teams or teams fighting for playoff contention, a turnover here, a turnover there literally can decide the game. And I think LaFleur has done a good job in the way that he's called plays to keep Love in rhythm, to keep his operation right, to get the ball out of his hands when necessary. I still want to see more from Love, though. There were still a couple of plays, a couple of unnecessary risks that didn't seem calculated, like this play right here in the double coverage. That could have easily been a turnover, right? And I think the way LaFleur kind of strategizes when to take those shots, I need Love to play with that same kind of strategy, to know when and why he's taking the risks that he's taking and make sure the payoff is worth it. That's my thing with Love.
I think he's got a challenge tomorrow night. The Dolphins' defense is just as hot as the Dolphins' offense.
Yeah.
And the way that Anthony Weaver, their defensive coordinator, is using their front and then some of those simulated pressures. Number one, you better block Zach Sealer. In the run game, he is an absolute destructive force where he's just blowing up plays and allowing everybody to fly to the football. I think the second thing is, if you single block him in pass protection, you better make sure that you can win that one-on-one matchup because he is hunting quarterbacks. Chop Robinson, their draft pick out of Penn State. You got to make sure that you have an athletic enough tackle. His bend is showing up from an offensive blocking perspective. And I'm telling you, these simulated pressures are a problem. 4 defensive linemen by themselves. 2 backers walked up. Okay, well, as an offense, I got a guy for a guy. What happens is 2 defensive linemen drop. I got 4 offensive linemen blocking 2. The back picks up a backer, but the safety comes free. And as a quarterback, you're like, who the heck do I throw it to? Who the heck do I throw the ball to? Since the bye week, look at the points that they've given up. 16. Now the Cardinals and Bills got hot in those 2 games, but then 15, 19, and 15. 4 out of their last 6 games under 20 points. This is a defense right now that on the road, Tua, cold weather, can he get it done? I think the defense gives them a chance to hang in that game.
Yeah, this is going to be a juicy game, more so than I had actually even really originally anticipated, honestly, because the Packers are right there in terms of still competing for that division, to win the division. I mean, I think they're going to be pretty solid. It would be quite the collapse for them to not even make the playoffs, to drop out of the wild card. But I think that, I know they're technically 2 games back, but there's still a lot of these divisional games to kind of unfold and unpack that you'd have to start digging into the whole kind of tiebreaker, but it's still all there. And this is a winnable game, but also a losable game because the Dolphins have been playing really, really well, as Orlovsky even pointed out, just from a defensive perspective, but also offensively, Tua. And that offense has been great. They really have. And the whole thing is, and you guys who live out there in Green Bay will have to tell me what the weather is like, but the whole narrative with the Dolphins, especially Tua, is that the cold weather, all of that really hurts them. And the Dolphins know that. Tua knows that. And he's obviously been on a tear this season looking to kind of prove everyone wrong. And so you're going to get the Dolphins' best shot. Everyone always is so obsessed with this whole idea of like, oh, if you play the Super Bowl winner, the Chiefs, whoever, you're getting their best shot. And I think there's some of that is true, but I think some of that, a lot of that times is overrated to a degree, especially considering how seasons unfold. Sometimes you're getting your best shot when you're playing against a team who maybe you lost last year, maybe it's a divisional team, maybe it's there's coaching, like in terms of like a coach or a player had been on that previous team, whatever it may be. Like you have a lot of those things overlap. But I think this game, the Dolphins are using as a rallying cry to be like, we're going to Lambeau, we're playing against a tough team like the Packers. We're a top team. I know our record doesn't show it because of injuries, but we are a legitimate top team. We got to win this game. First off, we got to win this game because we're hanging on a thread to make the playoffs for our own right. But we got to win this game. We got to prove to ourselves and everyone else, stop acting like the weather is somehow kryptonite to us. It is not. This is football. We are grown men. Let's go. And obviously the Packers want to be like, this is our house, right? You like the darkness, but we are born in the darkness, or whatever the heck Bane says. And it's just like, that's where the Packers are going to be coming from. And, the whole constant conversation with Jordan Love and turning the ball over and interceptions and whatnot, I've unpacked that a lot, in many, many videos at this point. But I do think in terms of pressure, which they highlighted his stats. Let me bring it up. In this situation, I actually, to a large degree, blame Matt LaFleur. And I think Matt LaFleur is a top coach in the NFL. I really, really do. I don't see why there would be such a necessarily fundamental issue to Jordan Love. I go to coaching first when a quarterback is bad under pressure. First, I go to the coach. And then if the coach is clearly shown to not have that be an issue, then I go to the player second. And again, a great example of this was Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts was great under the pressure, got a new offensive coordinator, suddenly became a disaster, got another new coordinator, and suddenly now is back to being great again. And so those things really do matter. And so I question, and someone who's going to be a little bit more locked in to the film than me, definitely please share your opinion. I'd love to hear it. I put that a little bit less on Jordan Love. It's not to say that Jordan Love's not responsible at all, just like how it wasn't, Jalen Hurts or even Jared Goff and some of these other quarterbacks that have kind of maybe inconsistent success with pressure. It's not to say that those quarterbacks aren't at fault at all. It's just that you got to ask yourself, is the coach doing a good enough job to giving this quarterback an out, what to do in that moment? And it's not so clear to me, honestly. And again, I don't want to be the one to criticize Matt LaFleur, because I think he's a legitimate top coach in the NFL and an incredibly bright, offensively minded. So it could be just this potential disconnect between Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur in terms of what to do in these types of situations. But that's really bad, is my point, right? It's really, really bad. And being at the bottom of all this 29th, 31st, 34th, 31st th, why is that? Doesn't make sense. What intern wrote that? Doesn't matter. But so I would say that when it's that much of an extreme, it's either because the sample size is so limited, which technically the sample size is going to be slightly limited because of injuries, or there is a fundamental core issue here. And when it's such a massive swing as well from pressure versus non-pressure, it just I go to coaching. I really, really do, because I'm struggling to see. I know Jordan Love can kind of, fly by the seam of his pants and all of that, and can be a slinger. I do get that, but the dude can make every single throw on the field. I mean, I think he's a total gamer and a playmaker and is just a baller. So I get, and sometimes in these situations, he makes kind of some bad throws and bad decisions, as you can see, right? 2 to 5 touchdown to interception ratio. But I still put that on LaFleur to be like, to clearly define what needs to be done in this situation. And maybe he is. And maybe Jordan Love is just like, nah, man, I can do it, right? Maybe that is, but I don't get that from him. I don't get that. And there's some discussions and whispers of like, oh, he's trying to prove that he's worth the contract and all of that. Maybe I struggle to accept that as the truth. And I just think that Jordan Love is way too good, way too great, and way too top level of a quarterback to have this, quite frankly. And that's why I really lean in. And no comparison is ever equal. But we saw it with Jared Goff. We saw it with Jalen Hurts, just from 22 to 23 to 24. You can see the differences. And the only things that change, really, for the most part, is coaching, either coordinating or head coach, depending on the example. And that's where I'm just kind of like, what's more the story going here more than anything? Because I just fail to accept that Jordan Love just can't handle the pressure. People love to jump to that conclusion with these quarterbacks. Oh, this quarterback's great, but when he's blitzed, when he's under pressure, he's not good. He's this, that. And I fail to see that being the case. You can't make it this far in professional sports, let alone being the quarterback in the NFL, and have such an Achilles heel like that. I don't think it's possible. I don't see how you would have survived college. I don't see how you would have survived becoming a starting quarterback in the NFL. And then not only be a starting quarterback in the NFL, but then be able to like play good enough to then get a contract, a huge I just fail to see it. It's like being a pitcher. It's like being a baseball player and being unable to hit a curveball. You could get through high school. You could make even a D1 team. I don't even know if you can't hit a curveball. I'm really not so sure you would be able to even make it to the minor leagues. I really don't. To single A, double A, definitely not triple A. I'm not seeing it. Unless you were literally just batting 500 and were just smashing home runs nonstop. I still don't even see it, because once it's revealed, once now you reach a level where people actually know who you are and you're actually going to have some information on how to throw to them. No, oh yeah, he can't hit curveballs and sliders. He can't hit any breaking balls. You're just not going to do it. And facing blitz and pressures is, obviously not a perfect comparison, but it's similar in that regard to a curveball to a big time hitter, where it's just like, I just don't see how you'd be able to make it that far. I just don't see it. So I just think that this is more of a scheming issue more than anything, and setting up Jordan Love for success more than him just being unable to deal with the pressure. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Jordan Love, the Green Bay Packers, the game against Miami, pressure, any of these topics? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. It's whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.